got an excellent connection. Some points. Go live. Goodness sake. Hello everyone, I'm Iron Phoenix and welcome to Hearts of Iron 4. Now, when we last left off, Germany was starting to, well, they've decided to go to war with the Soviet Union. However, we're not actually at war with them yet. What we can do, and what I will start to do, once we've done industrial effort, I'm going to do these ones. These go down into war. If we don't get there, then, well, we'll see. Anyway, let us move forward in time. And oh no, here we go. They just declared war on a load of countries, including little Luxembourg there, which I don't think Luxembourg are going to last very long. So Germany has now declared war on Netherlands, Belgium and Luxembourg. They will not last long, and then they'll start working on England. Not England, sorry, France. And, oh, yeah, no, we're still good. The stream may be a little shorter tonight. I'm going to go till 9. Yeah, so it'll be a little shorter than normal. It won't be quite the hour. I'm going to go till 9 tonight. So I've streamed rather a lot this weekend, actually. Right, let's do some more research. So we are in 1939. I'm going to do research into the resource gain efficiency, because pretty soon we are going to be going into full-blown war, and I need to be ready for that. And for the moment, you know, things are just sitting there. France do seem to be sort of moving in to try and support, but oh no, we've got things here. Call to arms request. Yep. That should. Yep. Yep. Right, low manpower, we can't do anything about that at the moment. Air wings, fine. We are now at war with Germany. So, where is my unit? There. However, we are... Oh no, we will be also at war with Italy. It's almost like I knew that something was going on. Right, so this army needs to invade. This one, problem is, their technology is not very good. I'm going to move them up to Luxembourg. Why can't I help in Luxembourg? Okay, fine, I can't help in Luxembourg. We will move them down to support here. Meanwhile, why is that not... Yeah, fine. I should note that we are actually also getting loads of army experience, which is great, because I'm going to need army experience, because what I want to do is I want to add a tank division to my army. So to the infantry division, I want to add an armoured battalion. Let's in. So it would be the Vickers heavy tank, basically. I want to put heavy tanks into the infantry to basically support them. Yeah, fine. Oh, and we've got our Stens. So our factories will now want to be pumping those out. Meanwhile, what we should probably... So that's Crusader was being done. 1939, yep, let's get the 25-pounder gun. So, something that I have been doing... oh, God, so many things. Yep, we can do that. Belgium can do whatever they like. And, yep, Luxembourg can do that as well. Yeah, I've actually been having a look at, there's like a YouTube channel of, famous ships, which has been kind of interesting. Mostly he's kind of got American ships so far, but this is pre-World War One, maybe into war, but I think it's mostly there's a load of pre-World War One, so it's more the development of ships, but I think he's got a whole load of them anyway. And there was this really interesting one that he did yesterday, which was actually a World War II Japanese carrier, and it was one of their it was their first fully armoured carrier, because mostly around that period they I need to do some production alterations. They made unarmoured carriers because ultimately they're cheaper to do, and an awful lot of carriers around that point were just converted ships. You just kind of laid a deck over the top. No, we'll let them be neutral. Shadow scheme. Nice. I can't remember what the shadow scheme was specifically. This may very well have been the development of an awful lot of underground factories during the war. But anyway, so yeah, it was like the Taiho, I think it was called. This Japanese carrier, fully armoured with an armoured belt as well, so it's very heavy, very low on the water. And as a result, the elevators, its two elevator shafts, actually the pit was below the waterline, and it only took a single torpedo to take it out. Not because it sunk, really. The damage control was so mismanaged that hold on, so we're on partial. I'm going to drop it down to, well, we're now at war, so I should probably go to the full war economy. Yeah. Yeah, it was just the damage control was so mismanaged that they had all the equipment on board that they needed to. So the torpedo damaged the aviation fuel tanks, and then that mixed with the water and kind of pooled in these elevator shafts, and then the fumes got into the hangar decks, and eventually the fire control officer, the damage control officer, ordered the ventilation systems be turned on, spreading the fuel-air mixture evenly throughout the entirety of the ship. And although on the hangar decks they were very careful not to have any sparks, because sparks are generally bad in that sort of environment, elsewhere in the ship, yeah, all that it took is one spark and the whole lot went up. And there were survivors. There was a surviving officer who recalled the deck heaving up as the sides blew outwards, as this ship just literally just went up. It was just essentially a fuel air bomb at that point. And let's move them into that position to support these guys. These guys are not going to win. There's just too much. Yeah, I thought it was just sort of quite an interesting little thing. So I'm not hugely up on my ships. Submarines, yes. I do like a good submarine. But, yeah, like the M class of submarines, which were fascinating. This is in the interwar period between World War One and World War Two, where Britain are trying to find uses for submarines because they've seen what submarines can do in World War One, and later on they're also going to find out what submarines can do in World War Two. Britain were not particularly good with submarines in that sort of time period, whereas the Germans were excellent. You know, the submarines were feared, but yeah, so during this interwar period, Britain develops the M class of submarines, which were all experimental. They were all very different. So there were 3 different submarines. The first was basically you take a submarine and you fit it with a naval gun, essentially. And this is essentially Britain's very early answer to what would eventually be sort of the cruise missile. The idea being that you can put your submarine, say, just out here somewhere, pop it up, shell the coast, pop it down again, move it. And unfortunately, I'm actually doing. Oh no, France is doing quite well. What are my troops doing? Oh, they got wiped out. Okay. Well, France are doing a good job anyway. We'll let them be. I probably should have watched them a bit more, and probably given them a general as well. Yeah, let's give them a commander. Can I do that? Let's give them a commander. There you go. And that will help them in some way. Yeah. I mean, it was actually quite an interesting design. Unfortunately, on its first sail. Oh God, yes. Yeah, we need to move these guys up. Let's not forget about these guys. Italy. Let's push these guys into there and these guys into there. They're all sort of, they've got France in between them, that's fine. But all these just little bits of Italy and, well, Italy generally, to kind of worry about in here. Yeah, so, anyway, yeah, so this submarine went out, and it got hit by a ship. You know, complete accident. It got hit by a ship as it was diving, and the ship didn't really know what it had hit. Unfortunately, the submarine was a goner at this point. The artillery cannon got sheared halfway off its mount, flooding the submarine, and unfortunately the cannon didn't detach entirely, so it was still held on by some bolts, and it just dragged the submarine down, and it was lost with all hands. But you know, they persevered, and they came up with the M2, which was you take a submarine and you put a sort of a hangar on the top, so you can deploy small aircraft from it. You know, you can pop up and deploy your scout aircraft or your little torpedo bomber or whatever, and you know, maybe you just give it a little bit of protection while it's on the surface. Quite a good idea, all in all. Unfortunately, that is now quite a popular diving spot because they seem to like to sort of challenge themselves to get the aircraft ready to launch as soon as the submarine popped up, and they reckon that they opened the doors too early and flooded the submarine, and again it was lost with all hands. Oh, we've got aircraft. Let's have a look at this map. So this map is our aerial map, and what it's going to show us is some very useful information. So we know that this area is, we know where our areas of air superiority are, apart from over the English Channel. We should probably sort that out. So what I'm going to do is let's have a new interwar, the Gladiators. And these are just going to be, they're going to be hovering over England. Actually, no, they should probably be over the English. They're going to be over England, southern England, because I need better. I don't have any better. I need air superiority over the English Channel. What do I have? Hawk Hurricanes. Yep, and they're going. They are doing air superiority. Well, we'll see. But we've got Gladiators covering southern England. We should probably get anti-aircraft guns up as well. If we don't, oh, we do. Yeah, that's fairly well spread out. Kind of waiting, I guess, for Spitfires. That would certainly solve the air superiority problem. Reasonable fighters of their day. There were some, an awful lot of people will certainly have their own opinions when it comes to, best tank, best gun, best aircraft of the Second World War. Certainly, the Spitfire was an incredibly nice sort of fighter, if a little. I don't know. The thing with the Spitfire is when the Germans got shot down by the Hurricanes, they always swore blindly that they'd been shot down by Spitfires. The skill of the pilots did just mean that they could get into any British aircraft, be effective at flying them, possibly because they were very easy to fly. And certainly the Spitfires and Hurricanes and pretty much everything in between, they all kind of followed very sort of similar design principles, meaning that you could just get pilots in them and they would perform, the planes would perform exactly how the pilots wanted them to. Which I think is very much a testament to British aircraft design in World War II. And even going on to Cold War as well. Yep. We'll sign all those pacts. We've got unassigned divisions now. Here's my issue. I could send them more troops. My problem with sending them more troops is that they are fighting a losing battle. I know this. Germany is big at this point. And they are chomping through Soviet Union quite quickly, actually. So Germany is fighting a war on two fronts. They're fighting the war over here. Well, I should say they're fighting the war over here and the war over here. And they're also fighting the war over here. And they are still doing extremely well. France do seem to actually be holding them back, which kind of makes me think that maybe I should put in more units. I mean, I could put in these 32 divisions that I've just got lying around. I've got 15 divisions just sitting there. Okay, let's go and help. I've got 15 divisions going in there. Let's move these 6 divisions down to Portsmouth, and then I can move those 10 divisions in. I may have overdone it a little bit on the troops, as it turns out. though really, you know, this part of the war, Germany needed to get big enough to fail. That was the thing. That was the thing that really sort of ended the war. Germany just got too big. And their whole principle almost was they would invade Russia to strip it of its resources just so that they could feed the Germans and feed the German army, because they got so big that they couldn't feed themselves. And you know, it was actually quite important that they get so big that they had no ability not only just to feed themselves but to fuel themselves. They were running so low on fuel to the point where they were making wood oil. I mean, both sides were running out of fuel, but Germany was just getting so big. They had this empire, but they had no way of actually keeping it. And when they were so big, it was so easy to exploit them. So they thought Calais would be the most logical place to invade. So they fortified Calais. And of course, we didn't actually go for Calais in the end. We went down for down here somewhere. And by the time that they knew what was going on at D-Day, it was too late. They'd stacked all their troops up in Calais because they thought that Britain were going to invade. When in reality, everything that was lined up here was inflatable. It was all false. But it was very easy for Britain to feed them false information, and because ultimately Hitler and his army and his sort of generals were gullible. Reading more and more into it, you realise that Germany itself, as a fighting force, it was extremely powerful. They had some of the best scientists that were producing some of the best weapons and the best vehicles in the war, and an awful lot of I do know an awful lot of people who will always point to German tanks and say they were the best tanks. And I would agree with them that they were, well built, well designed, but they all had a certain flaw to them. They weren't particularly reliable. That was one of the big things that kind of generally came out, that Hitler wanted bigger and better tanks that could deal with the bigger guns that were coming out of Britain. And Britain were building some very, very big guns. Yep, I've got the convoys. Britain were building huge guns. The 17 pounders, which basically got fitted to everything later on in the war. Let's do Military Training Act. Why are these guys not moving? Oh, it's just a case of Africa's big, and they are moving very slowly. Hold on, where are we? So I had units heading up into Italy down here, so they are going to start chomping their way through here. We need to take the ports so that they can't get units in behind us. We need to just start chopping Italy up, essentially. These guys, we need to get that airfield, and we need to get through to that dock. If we can get this area here. So the Battle of Africa is a bit of a strange one, and it's one that I always forget about. So it's a little bit strange for me to be doing this. So yeah, I need to get through to that port. And I also need to get that port. And that is technically United Kingdom, but I've got no units there, so I can't do anything about that. But I can, in theory. I can't move them down because I've lost the port. Yeah, that's fine. We'll very, very slowly deal with these guys. So yeah, they'll take the airfield. They'll take Benghazi. Then we'll push through and hopefully get Tripoli before the Italians really know what's going on there. And then that will be the United Kingdom. And then generally this area will be, you know, we can sort something out here just to get these guys sorted out. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, I've got a division. Oh, Ceylon. Okay. Yeah, Britain's got territories everywhere. You lose track. Because, you know, obviously the Empire's gone now. So, what was that? What I need to be doing is I need to be doing patrols. And also, I should probably think about... Oh, not I can't do the army experience yet. Soon we will be able to do the army experience, and I've no idea what's going on here right now. Italy versus Switzerland, I think. I might even see if I can push forward a bit. And I've got 15 units just sitting here. Hold on. Let's get these guys in down there. And I've got 12 units that are just kind of sitting here. So let's get these guys over to here as well. So yeah, yeah, German tanks, you know, good things, you know, well designed, well, you know, well equipped to a point. But they always ended up with, you know, reliability was certainly a problem, but they also had other flaws. Certainly when you start looking at things like the tank destroyers, where they're essentially boxes, and they've got frontal slits so you can see out the front, because they're tank destroyers, you don't need to be looking anywhere else, right? And their guns are fixed to fire forwards, and they're all enclosed in that big metal box. No one can hurt them, right? Yeah, problem is they forget about troops, and the troops can get up behind and work out that actually those big fans that are pulling air, either pulling air in, are actually just vents down into the cabin. So, although you may not be able to get, you know, anything in like a grenade, how about petrol? And that's what they would do. They just burn out the tanks. And there's nothing the tank destroyers could do. There'll be a moment of, and then, you know, they would have to leave the tank, or, you know, ultimately the next thing that's going to follow up is a match. So, you know, it was all just a case of you leave the tank. And yeah, so yeah, they tended to have flaws. I mean, they all had flaws. The Churchill was quite slow. When you're looking at British tanks, an awful lot of British tanks had certain flaws about them. The Churchill was extremely slow, but then again, it also had a tremendous amount of torque. So it could climb. There was a I think it's the Battle of Stop Point Hill. The Germans had a hill, and they were defending it, and they were doing a very good job of it. They'd already seen off attacks, and so the British saw a hill, which the Germans also knew about. It was a hill that was higher than the hill that they were on, but they'd dismissed it because it was way too steep for anybody to get artillery on top, or rather, it was way too steep for Germany to get any artillery on top, so they just kind of assumed that nobody else could. This was generally a running theme. The might of the German army that was just generally brought down by a lack of thought. And so, click to create a new army. Let's give them a general. Sorry, I just need to, there was another band of units that I sent down and I can't find them. Oh, so that's the 12, that's the 15. Let's create a new army. Let's give it these guys, give them a general. And let's start pushing them in. Battle of Stop Point Hill, and that was it, so what did the British do? Well, they got a few Churchills to climb up the side of the hill and then shell the Germans, and there's nothing that they could do about it. And thus the battle was won, because yet again the Germans ended up being outmaneuvered by something that was meant to be, the Churchill was an infantry support tank. It was slow, and that was partly because it was weighed down by armour and didn't have such a good engine in it. But it didn't need to be, because it was designed to support the infantry. And it was meant to actually be, the way that they basically sold it was the psychological impact of having a tank advance with the infantry. Because if they've got, say, a Cromwell supporting them, the Cromwell is an awful lot faster than they can walk, or even reasonably run. So if they get into trouble, the mindset is that technically the Cromwell could just disappear. Whereas the Churchill couldn't disappear, it was slow, so it was a bit of a symbiotic relationship really between the Churchills and the infantry, that the infantry kept the Churchills alive, and in return the Churchills would keep the infantry alive, or as much as possible. Certainly that would be the case later on when the Churchill Mark 7 came along, with all the mod cons, including flamethrowers. It's a little known fact about the Mark 7 is that they were all designed to carry flamethrowers, to the point where all you really needed to do was attach a flamethrower mounting, because they already had all the pipework that was needed inside to support the Wasp flamethrower. Then all you needed to do was hook the trailer on the back, fit the flamethrower to the sort of the machine gunner's chair, essentially, the guy who sits next to the pilot, next to the driver. I'm just going to cut that down and bring that up. We do not have enough factories. I do not have enough ships. I do not have enough anything. Right, okay, so I need to do some modification at this point, because I need edit, and I need to add in an armoured battalion heavy tank. Save. Which means I need to start creating tanks, which unfortunately at this point is the Vickers heavy tank. It's I can see why the Vickers heavy tank didn't really it wasn't very good. You know, it was an okay stopgap, but there was an awful lot of hit and miss with tankage in the war, because they were still trying to work out what tanks should be. And so you have tanks that tanks now fulfill a single role in a main battle tank is there to fight other main battle tanks, but also to be reasonably multi-purpose with their ammunition types and their abilities, so that they can be used to clear bunkers or whatever. World War One, it was slightly different because the tank design was still very early, and you basically had the British had the Mark 1s down to the Mark 7, I think, and the Germans had the A7V. Only 20 A7Vs were ever made, and they were notoriously horrendous as vehicles to, you know, stay on their own tracks. So I'm going to pull these guys out, and they're losing that battle. We'll just leave them in defence. They're buying us more time. Yeah. So World War One, the tank is used to as a line breaker, pretty much. A wonder weapon, if you will. They were. It was, you know, they were not good vehicles. There was certainly an awful lot of development that went into them, but they were not very good vehicles. All in all, they had all kinds of issues. Let's move those down there. What's that? Right, let's move these guys around there. Yep. Okay. Fine. Denmark. Oh, France are pushing down that way as well. That's fine. As for up here, I want you guys to move over there. No, oh, for God's sake. Why are you being weird? I need you to move up there through those territories. I'm specifically hitting the ports, hitting the aircraft places, the aircraft homes. What do you call the aircraft homes? Airports, airfields. That's the one. Let's slow that down. Where were we? 1940. So we've just got our Crusader. Spitfire needs to go up. Military Training Act is being very slow. There's somehow the Sudan Defence Force are somehow holding off the Italians. So good on them. I don't have any units I can send to support them, do I? Don't know what that one is meant to be. That building, it looks like an oil field of some description. Okay, so so France have that sorted. So now it's just a case of mopping up this area, pushing Italy back so that they're out of there, and mopping up around here. Just making sure that they don't have any ports. In fact, let's split the party here. These guys are moving there so that I can just take more of these, as many of these little places as possible. Send these units over here just to give them a hand with mopping up Italy in here. Then we've got to deal with these, but I will feel happier once Italy's under control in Africa. Just that that's not a concern anymore. And we are going to need. I've got loads of civilian factories now, just pumping out. Do I want more? I could really do with some. I don't. Just got no. Right. Okay. Let's get some radar up. Let's get a couple of radar up in Malta. That will give us radar coverage down there, and also radar in there as well. Just so that we can start getting our radar coverage up. And what's the time? Coming up to 9. Yeah, no, it's I think going quite well actually. I've got loads of decisions I can make. War propaganda. Yeah, no, yeah, we should totally do that. Big thing in World War II was just the propaganda machine. It wasn't necessarily telling. It wasn't necessarily telling people we are winning the war, although there would certainly be a certain amount of that. It was more emboldening civilians. It wasn't necessarily lying to them, but it was emboldening them. It was, things like Dig for Victory, which some pretty famous posters there. But yeah, Dig for Victory was a very big one that I remember. Well, I don't remember them being up, but just in terms of the propaganda machine. Yeah, Dig for Victory, which was a way by which Britain could reduce. So we get ships for. Yes, this whole destroyers for bases scheme, which was. I mean, historically we did do that. I believe Jamaica. Yeah, historically we did actually do that. The thing is, what we were basically told is, we will give you ships, and in return you give us land. What we actually got was some pretty dreadful ships. The mention of them being in reserve, which basically means they are so antiquated by this point. They're from World War I, these destroyers, and they're pretty wrecked, but America knew that we needed things. And all in all, it was in a strange way beneficial to the UK, because they could use these ships for all kinds of things that they wouldn't necessarily want to use their own ships for. The HMS Campbell Town was one such ship. World War I destroyer that was technically on loan, though the Americans never got it back. It was blown to smithereens when it was used to ram the dock gates at Saint-Nazaire, and then a bomb exploded in the front of it, completely destroying the dock gates and putting Saint-Nazaire out of action for the entirety of the war. So yeah, those terrible destroyers would tended to be used for things like that. You know, for duties that you wouldn't want to put an actual ship into. Yeah. Actually, France are doing pretty well. It's weird. Yeah, France are pushing back. We've got some things in support of them, but I mean, these guys probably need to return. Their average strength 6%. I'm going to actually try and pull these back to Dunkirk. It's basically they're quite ancient at this point, and we could probably do better. Considering we've now got the because the Crusader I think fulfills a different role, but we could probably let's have a look at our tank brigade. Edit the tank brigade. So I can add more armored battalion for free. I could start putting in some light tanks, which I'm going to do. And I'm also going to put in another medium tank. Hold on. I want the light tank. I want the armored battalion, medium tank. There we go. Save that. So we get more light tanks and a medium tank as well. Missing equipment divisions, a medium tank they need, so let's get one of those up. Oh, the Crusader counted as a medium? I wouldn't have counted the Crusader as a medium, really. It was very light and very fast. They put the... what I suspect that they've done is that they put the... Yeah, they put the Matilda as a light tank. I mean... Yeah, I guess I can kind of see that. Ish. I mean, weapon-wise, maybe their definitions are based on weapons and armor. Because I wouldn't have really put the Matilda as a light... The Matilda 1, yeah. The Matilda 1 would have been a light tank, but not the Matilda 2. Or even the Matilda 3. Cast hull. The gun was okay. But yeah, the cast hull certainly had a lot going for it. It could shrug off an awful lot of damage. Let's put these guys down there. Tell these guys to go up. Oh no, let's get these guys in there. Let's get these guys to move over there. And what's that? It's a factory of some description. And let's move these guys down. So yeah, that unit will basically just mop up around here. This guy will go down here and push forwards. These guys will just probably just start taking land, basically. And that's all now owned by France as well. So Italy's just got this little bit and it's got this bit. And there's also this war that's going on here, which France are doing surprisingly well at, actually, on all fronts. So, yeah. But anyway, I think, well, yeah, I was going to stop it a little bit earlier today, so I started a bit later. So, yes, we're going to continue on forwards until we get our autosave, as always. Which I think is usually around the 18th of each month. Let's push it forwards a little bit. Generally, it's under control. Would actually quite like to finish off this bit before I go, actually. So maybe we'll just finish off that bit. Let's get more. Gonna need lots of fuel. I'd like to just get this bit finished up before. Yeah, there you go. And yeah, I think that's pretty good actually. We've done some good work here. Africa is ours essentially. Bit of mopping up here needing to be done. Yeah, we can I think reasonably kick Italy out of this area. They're kicked out of there now, so I can start moving troops down here to support these guys. We'll sandwich them. Meanwhile, up here, this war will sort of continue to rage on for a little while, I expect. It's just going to be a case of pumping out troops. Oh, we've got 3 civilian factories, which probably means we should build some military ones down in there and down up there, sort of a smattering of military factories.